It took me a long time to understand what had really happened in that house. When I finally did, it was already too late to pretend it was just paranoia. I never had the habit of locking the door during the day. I lived alone, in a normal neighborhood, the kind where nothing ever really happens. I came and went all the time. It had always been that way. My routine was predictable. I woke up early, went to work, got home around 7 in the evening. Nothing unusual. Nothing out of the ordinary. It was on a Tuesday that I noticed the first strange thing. I came home from work and had the feeling that the house was too organized. Not clean, organized. A pair of shoes neatly aligned. The kitchen chair pushed under the table. Small things, things that could have been done by me. I ignored it. The next day I noticed another detail. The paper towel roll had fewer sheets than I remembered. I didn't recall using that many. I ignored it again. That week, I began to feel something I couldn't quite explain, as if the air inside the house was different when I got home. Not a smell, not a sound, a presence. I rationalized everything. Fatigue, routine, imagination. On Friday night, something changed. I got home later than usual. It was already past 10. When I walked in, I saw that the hallway light was on. I always left that light off. I stood still at the door for a few seconds. The silence was absolute, no sound coming from inside. I called out to someone, even though it made no sense. No one answered. I went in. The house was intact. Nothing broken, nothing out of place. At first glance, I turned off the light and went on with my night. A simple dinner, a shower, bed. But I didn't sleep well. In the middle of the night, I woke up with a strange feeling, as if something was wrong, but distant. Nothing happened. No sound. In the morning, before leaving for work, I noticed the bathroom mirror. There was a fingerprint mark in the lower corner. It wasn't dust. It wasn't a splash. It was a greasy mark. I ran my finger over it and wiped it away. I stood there for a few seconds, staring at my reflection, trying to decide if it mattered. I ignored it once again. The accumulation began in the following days. A cup in the sink when I was sure I hadn't had coffee at home. The bathroom trash fuller than it should have been. The towel slightly damp when I arrived. Always small things. Nothing enough to call the police. Nothing enough to accuse anyone. Until the day I decided to leave work early. At a time when I was never home. When I arrived, the door was locked, just like I always left it. I opened it with my key, went in slowly, without making a sound. That's when I heard the shower turn off. I froze. The sound of water dripping echoed from the bathroom. Someone had been there seconds before. My heart raced, but my body didn't react. I didn't run. I didn't scream. I heard footsteps. Slow, careful. They stopped before reaching the living room. Silence again. I waited. I don't know for how long. When I finally gathered the courage to go down the hallway, there was no one there. The bathroom was humid, the mirror fogged, a towel hanging, different from the one I used. That was the moment reality finally fell into place. Someone had been entering my house, using my things, leaving, and not leaving obvious traces. I changed all the locks that same night, installed cameras, told a friend. For days, nothing happened, until I reviewed older recordings from the building's security cameras. Always at the same time, always in the afternoon. A man entered the building. He didn't force anything. He greeted the doorman, went upstairs. The camera didn't show which floor. They never found out who he was. He never stole anything. He never came back after I changed the locks. But for a long time, whenever I walked into my home, the feeling remained that I hadn't been robbed. I had been watched. And to this day, living alone has never meant being alone again. I only realized later that everything had been written down, every time, every habit, details I myself had never paid close attention to. The first sign appeared as something trivial, a message on my phone. "You left 3 minutes later today." I thought it was a mistake. Unknown number, no photo, no response when I called back. I blocked it. The next day, I noticed that the building's electronic gate was already open when I arrived. The doorman wasn't in the booth. Nothing unusual, except for the fact that it always happened to me. Never to other residents. I ignored it. The following week, I found a folded flyer inside my car. Not an advertisement. A blank sheet of paper with something written by hand. "On Mondays and Wednesdays you park here." I laughed to myself. Maybe some bored neighbor. Maybe a prank. I threw it away. Over time, small confirmations began to appear. Always subtle. Always easy to explain away. The elevator arriving before I pressed the button. The hallway empty at the right times. People waiting at the bus stop at the exact moment I arrived. Nothing threatening. Nothing direct. Until the first unexpected change. On an ordinary day, I left work early. A meeting was cancelled. A rare thing. I got home 40 minutes earlier than usual. The gate was closed. The building was silent. When I stepped into the elevator, I felt something strange. Not fear. Misalignment. On my floor, the elevator took longer than usual to open. When it finally did, the hallway was empty. But the light at the far end was on. Always off at that hour. I went to my apartment. Key in the door. Everything normal. Inside, there were no signs of a break-in. Nothing out of place. But on the kitchen table, there was a folded piece of paper. My stomach sank before I even opened it. "You arrived too early today." I sat down in the nearest chair. I didn't call the police. I didn't shout. I didn't do anything impulsive. I just sat there, trying to understand. I started changing my routine on purpose. Different times, different routes. I began coming and going at random moments. Even so, something always remained. The feeling of being expected. One night, I got home late. Almost midnight. At the entrance of the building, I saw a car parked across the street. Engine off, headlights off. I didn't give it much thought. I went in. Inside the elevator, my phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. "Today you took longer." The doors opened. The hallway was dark. The light off this time. I went inside and locked everything. I stayed awake all night. The next day I went to the police. I showed them the messages. I explained everything. They listened. They took notes. They said that without a direct threat, without proven intrusion, there was little they could do. I installed cameras, changed the locks, told my friends. For a few days, nothing happened. Until I reviewed the history on my own phone. Running apps, maps, old social networks, automatic check-ins. I realized something I had never taken seriously. I logged my own times, posted my patterns, repeated my routes. Everything was available, organized, predictable. The last message arrived on an ordinary morning. "It's not personal. You were just easy to follow." After that, it stopped. I never found out who it was. I never had any more contact. But to this day, when I leave the house, I do something different. A delay, a change of route, a gesture outside the pattern. Because I learned too late that my routine was no longer just mine. The door was locked when I went to sleep. I remember that clearly. That's exactly why it took me so long to accept what happened afterward. My nighttime routine was always the same. I got home around 7. Simple dinner, a bit of television, shower. Before going to bed, I checked the lock. 2 turns of the key. An automatic habit. I lived in a rented single-story house on an ordinary street. Nothing isolated. Nothing dangerous. Neighbors nearby. I'd never had any reason to be suspicious. That night, nothing was different. Or at least it seemed that way. Before going to the bedroom, I checked the front door. I pulled the handle. Locked. The living room window was closed as well. Everything in order. I went to bed around 11. It took me a while to fall asleep, but that wasn't unusual. I didn't hear any noises. I didn't feel anything strange. The first warning came in the morning. I woke up to my alarm, and as I got up, I noticed something out of place in the kitchen, a chair slightly pulled away from the table, just a few inches, enough to catch my attention, not enough to seem like a problem. I thought I might have bumped into it the night before. I went to the bathroom and saw the towel was damp. That had happened before. Heat, a closed environment. I ignored it. I left for work as usual, locked the door, checked the handle, everything normal. Over the next few days, small things started to repeat. A light on where I knew I had turned it off. The television volume different from what I remembered. A glass out of place. There were always reasonable explanations, memory lapses, distraction. I trusted those more than any strange feeling. On the fourth night, I came home later. Work ran late. I arrived close to midnight. I opened the door. Everything looked exactly as I had left it. I locked it again. 2 turns of the key. Went straight to bed. I woke up to a low sound, not a clear noise, more like something being carefully repositioned. I opened my eyes. The bedroom was dark, silent. I waited a few seconds. Nothing else happened. In the morning, I found the back door unlocked. It wasn't forced. There were no signs of damage. The lock simply wasn't engaged. I stood there staring at it longer than I should have. Every possibility ran through my mind. Had I forgotten? It was unlikely, but possible. I locked it. Went on with my day. That night, I decided to test my own habit. Before going to sleep, I grabbed my phone and recorded a short video, focused on the front door. The lock. I turned the key. Showed the handle being pulled. Locked. I deleted the video immediately afterward. It was more for me than for anyone else. I went to bed. During the night, I woke up again, this time to a clearer sound, something like a foot carefully touching the floor. I held my breath. I didn't hear doors. I didn't hear footsteps moving away. Just presence. I stayed completely still until sleep took me again. In the morning, the front door was locked. Exactly as before, but something was different. On the living room floor near the couch, there was a faint dirt stain. A shoe print. Not mine. My heart raced for the first time. I searched the entire house. Nothing broken. Nothing stolen. Nothing missing. Only then did I go to the hallway closet and find the attic access door open. The house had a small entry to the attic. I never used it. I almost never thought about it. I climbed up carefully. Up there I found marks in the insulation, footprints, a space where someone had been lying. I came down with my legs shaking. I called the police. They came. They looked around. They took notes. They said someone had probably gotten in during the day. An unlocked door, hidden. Waited until I fell asleep, then left through the back, and out of habit, locked the door on the way out. They never took anything. They never left obvious signs. I changed all the locks, installed additional deadbolts. I never slept in that house again. But to this day, when I lock a door before going to sleep, I do it more slowly, because I learned that a locked door doesn't mean that no one was there.